Hello, everyone, and welcome to Explore Central Ohio Nature. This is our first pre-recorded program for the summer of 2023. I'm your host, Don Kloss. For this edition, we have for you a presentation about a summertime favorite that has just started to show up in our neighborhoods and backyards this second and third weeks of June, and that is fireflies, the hidden gems of the insect world. And as usual, we are going to expose you to some things about these creatures that you probably didn't know. And hopefully you will enjoy this as you learn some new things. First, some facts. There are about 2,200 worldwide species of fireflies that emit light. There are about 2,500 total. 25% of them do not, and we will get to that. 18 species are recorded as threatened. They are called lightning bugs, but they are not actually bugs. And lightning bugs is usually a term that's used in the Midwest and the South of the United States. They are actually beetles, six-legged insects. Some species eat other species. They are cannibalistic. They are often identified through their flashing patterns and the intervals of those patterns. And this is often done by scientists and researchers because so many of them are very hard to tell apart just by their sight, their colorization patterns, and so on. And there is an extensive collection of firefly specimens at the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History in Washington. Some more facts. Fireflies are members of the Lampyridae family, which comes from the Greek word lampion, meaning to shine. The light that they emit is called bioluminescence, and we will talk about that. Bio meaning biological, and luminescence, of course, meaning having the property of lighting or shining. Their average lifespan is approximately 2 months, although some have a lifespan of up to 2 years. And believe it or not, they are pollinators and seed dispersers as well, something you might not have known. Now, it's not just pretty lights that you see. There is a purpose to the lights. Males flash to attract mates, to attract females, and the females of the same species flash a response signal to the males. So this is used as part of the mating ritual and is how they identify each other and other species. Larvae glow, actually. They don't flash, but they glow. And this is to warn off predators because the larvae have toxic chemical substances within their bodies that are harmful or deadly to their predators. Also, some species can mimic flashes of other species. And that goes back to the cannibalism. It's how they attract other species so that they can make a meal out of them. Now, a little bit about the science behind it. The actual organ that you see that creates the light, very scientific. It's called the lantern. And the lantern is filled with a chemical cell that's called luciferin, as in the word Lucifer, luciferin. And scientists believe that they create the flashes of that light by regulating the airflow through the luciferin cells. It's not proven, but it's what they strongly believe. This is the lifespan, or excuse me, the life cycle of lightning bugs. They, of course, start as adults. We start there. They lay eggs, which take about 3 weeks to hatch. And then they are in the larval stage for, believe it or not, 1 to 2 years, 50 to 102 weeks on average, plus or minus. After the larval stage, they are a pupa for 3 weeks, just like butterflies. And then they are an adult for, again, on average, 3 to 4 weeks, at which point they begin mating as soon as they are at the adult stage, and then begin laying eggs. And we note here that while they are in that larval stage for 1 to 2 years, they eat mostly what is the adult diet of snails, slugs, and worms, soft-skinned invertebrates. Now, something else about fireflies is there are some that are called dark fireflies, for the reason that they glow as juveniles and sometimes as eggs. Like when we say juveniles, we mean larval stage, which they pretty much all do, but they turn into adults and they do not have that lantern on the end of their abdomen as adults. No lantern. Those species find others of their species by sensing pheromones through their longer antenna. They have longer antenna than those that do have lanterns. There are also some species, not dark fireflies, but there are some species where the females have a light, but they don't fly. They crawl around on the ground and on plants. And those species where the females have a light but don't fly, they are often diurnal. In fact, there are many species that are diurnal, meaning that they are awake and active both during the daytime and the nighttime. Mealtime. Here's some things about their eating habits. They are all carnivores. As mentioned, they eat soft bodied insects and invertebrates on the ground or on plants. Some of them, again, are cannibals. They will eat fireflies of other species who they attract by mimicking their light flashing patterns. They use a numbing chemical emitted from their mouth to stun their prey and basically take them out of action so that they're easy to subdue and eat. In addition, some adults will eat pollen and nectar. Some eat nothing at all as adults, which is something that we find to be the case with the periodical cicadas. A big harmful influence on fireflies. Of course, man has a way of disrupting nature in just about everything he does. And in this case, with fireflies, the big problem, besides habitat loss, is light pollution. And the light pollution causes population declines. That is because it causes behavioral changes in these insects. It interferes, of course, with what they are able to see and recognize in terms of light patterns. So it interferes with species recognition, their own species and others, which in turn interferes with their ability to find mates. And it also interferes with their food sources, because a lot of the creatures that they tend to eat stray away from these light sources. And of course, a lot of the light sources crop up in suburban areas and in parks and with street lights and so on, which are in or next to the habitats of these creatures. So it's a big problem, and there is no solution, may not be a solution ever. But it greatly contributes to population decline, again, along with habitat loss. And the last thing we'll talk about briefly here is folklore and mythology. In Japan, the lightning bug has traditionally represented the transience of life. In other words, reincarnation. And for that reason, they are also considered messengers of the gods to people. In China, they represent summer, which is not a stretch, good fortune, and prosperity. On the other side of the coin, in Africa, they are considered bringers of disease and death in some African countries, and in others are considered messengers between life and death. In Mexico, they are considered to be souls of the dead, kind of, again, representing transience of life, as in Japan. And in Europe, they are pretty much considered good luck. In addition to this, there are some cultures, specifically in Africa, where they are considered to have medicinal properties and are used in the making of certain folk medicines. And that concludes what we have for you for this program. We hope you found it interesting, and We should have another one in a couple of weeks. You will, besides seeing it on this YouTube page, there will be information about it on our website, centralohionature.org, and on our Facebook page, Central Ohio Nature. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.